Couple thoughts about growing up in Wayne and in northern New Jersey back in the 60s and 50s and before that. The way summer was, because back then summer was actually part of our lives. We lived with screens. We didn't have air conditioning. That was only for the wealthy. In fact, we had a relative who put a big window unit in his house. I mean, he put a giant one in. It was so big that he cut a hole in the side of the house, and we all thought he was kind of crazy to do this. But it did cool down 3 rooms in the house, the living room, dining room, and kitchen, at the expense of the thing droning away, similar to that sound you get when you're riding on a bus with the engine running at full throttle in the background. That air conditioner would just sit there and... So it made talking a little bit difficult, but most of us lived with screens, and with screens along came holes. Yeah, and with holes came mosquitoes. They'd come in the house and they'd pester you, usually around 1 or 2 in the morning, and they always seemed to find your ear. I remember one hot summer night, I'm at home and this mosquito's flying towards my ear, and I'm trying to duck the thing. I don't want to get up, and it kept flying in my ear, and the first thing I thought I would do is, I'll fix you, bug. And I pulled the sheet over my head, and that lasted probably about 3 minutes before it got so hot that I had to take the sheet off, and then the mosquito came right back again. So there we are in the middle of the night. I decide to turn the light on and just wait for this thing to fly around, and I finally caught it and smashed it against the wall and found out it was having me for dinner. A big blotch of blood was on the white wall, and I just turned and went to bed and went back to sleep. Next morning, my mother saw it and wanted to know what that was all about. And I guess we had a little battle of words about who was going to clean it off, and I didn't think I should. And so she ultimately, about a week later, wiped it off. But that was the way summer nights were, with mosquitoes. And then you had the summer sounds as well in the middle of the night. You hear all the bugs, the katydids, the cicadas. They would have a concert for you. And when morning came, a cacophony of birds, all chirping their own individual songs, right at dawn. So that's the way it was without air conditioning. But summer brought a lot of people from the city out to Wayne. That's what my father called it, the city. The city was anything east of Patterson and Passaic, the east side of Essex County, Hudson County, and probably even New York City. Some of those people came out. And they'd come up Route 23, and Route 23 was a corridor of places where people could go for a mini weekend at a beach. And there were a number of places. The first one on Route 23 was Revere Lake, and that was right near the North Cove. Revere Lake was a former clay hole, a brickyard. A mile up the road from there was Laguna Beach Club. That was a little nicer. It had cabanas. It had a music pavilion. It even had a skeet range. A lot of things going on there. And then beyond the Ratzer Road Circle, there's McDonald's Beach. That was a little bigger. That was a former sand pit. And then if you went on beyond the Riverdale Circle, up the hill, you'd find Valley Spring Lake. Beyond that, Suntan Lake, which was mostly concrete. And then if you kept going farther up Route 23 into West Milford, you'd find Forest Hill Park. Over in Morris County by Newfoundland was Green Pond, which still is a really nice private community. And then there were the 2 big resort destinations of Greenwood Lake and Upper Greenwood Lake. And for people who really wanted to get out, they could keep going up Route 23 over to Sparta, to Lake Mohawk, or keep going beyond that to Swartzwood Lake, which was pretty far out, and beyond Branchville, there was Culver's Lake. And in between all of that were these little ponds and lakes where there were little summer homes where people would go for the summer or for weekend breaks, just to get away from the heat of the city. Mountain View itself still had some resort things going on in the 50s and early 60s. A lot of people don't realize on Fayette Avenue there was a boathouse, a Mountain View Boathouse, operated by the Maxman family. And they had canoes and rowboats, and you'd see people out on the Pompton River, which ran relatively calmly there, and they'd be on the river cooling off in the hot summers. And along Fairfield Road, down by where the pumping station now is, there was once a small beach, a little concession stand. People would actually swim in the Pompton River. And of course, over by the two bridges, there was always a group of men fishing. So there was a lot of summer activity going on in the Wayne area and beyond back in the 50s and 60s. And it seemed like all of these people would enjoy their time, and then when Sunday night came, they would all leave at the same time to go back to the city. And Route 23 turned into a backup that even rush hours during the week couldn't compete with. You would see traffic backing up at the Riverdale Circle, backing up at the Pompton Plains Circle, and backing up again at Ratzer Road and Black Oak Ridge Road, and again at Killer Bend in Wayne, and then all the way down to Route 46 and that circle. And sometimes there was so much traffic, the backups would extend from one traffic circle to the next. And that's the way summers used to be in northern New Jersey. No air conditioning. All those people in the traffic are out there with windows down, tired, probably kids in the back of the car yelling, when are we going to get there? Or I'm hungry, or I got to go to the bathroom. And Route 23 would just be a parking lot for several hours on Sunday evenings. Summers, before air conditioning, when we actually lived with the environment in the 1950s and 1960s.